Okay, good evening. We are now looking at production and operation management. Okay. And this one, it has a number of topics that are covered in POM. The first one, we have forecasting. So the first topic in POM is called forecasting. And then, of course, we have the other one is inventory. Okay, then the other one is aggregate planning. So we have aggregate. Okay, then the other topic here is MPS, which is master production schedule. Then we have also MRP, which is on material requirement planning. Then we have the shop floor planning. So we have the shop floor. Planning. So these are the 6 topics that we look at. Of course, there is another one last, which is the quality control. So these are the topics that are covered in production. Okay.
I'm in class.
These are the topics that are covered in POM. All right. So after doing all these topics, then you'll be able to get comfortable with the course, which is the production and operation management. Now, getting down to the assignment questions for this one. So in this one, there's an aspect of this question came on inventory management. So meaning it came from one of the topics. This question 1 was inventory. Okay. Now, as we look at inventory, first and foremost, first we can get down here where we first and foremost define inventory. So inventory means stock. Okay. So we have to look at what are the advantages of keeping stock. So before answering the question, we are supposed first of all to look at inventory. So inventory means stock. So we look at now the advantages of keeping stock. So keep stock so that the firm does not incur ordering cost, that every time you place an order. So you're avoiding the acquisition cost. And then you are also keeping stock to avoid the stock out cost, the cost of losing business. So these are the advantages of keeping stock. Of course, we keep stock in order to maintain the customer's goodwill. Goodwill is just created. All right, so this is what goes on. Okay. Then we have also the disadvantages of keeping stock. The firm will incur continuous carrying costs, e.g. paying for the warehousing salaries and wages. Of course, even also paying for the floor space charge related to the warehousing activities. Inventory may be damaged or may be spoiled. So this is another disadvantage of stock, of keeping stock. All right. So now there's an aspect of us looking at inventory models. There are also, of course, 3 inventory models. Model 1 is a purchasing model. Then we have model 2, which is production model. And model 3, which is actually the discount what? The discount model. So these are the 3 inventory what? Models. All right. So far, as we proceed, if there will be any questions, feel free to ask questions. All right. So this is a cardinal that we need to look at. Now, let's look at the model 1, which is the purchasing model. We are simply saying that for this model, the firm is buying units of the commodity from the suppliers. So on this one, as a purchasing model, then what goes on here is that you are running business and then you are buying units of the commodity from the suppliers. So here we consider the economic order quantity, meaning that how many units of a commodity can we order at a time? This one is called economic order quantity. Economic order quantity, the EOQ. So we are simply saying that we have D is our annual demand. The D is annual demand. Then we have economic order quantity, that is EOQ. Then S is representing ordering cost per order. Then C is representing carrying cost per unit per year or holding cost. So this one is called holding cost. So this is what goes on. All right, as we are getting down to the carrying cost or holding cost. Now, carrying cost is always the percentage of acquisition cost or unit price. So acquisition cost is also called unit what? Unit price. That is the acquisition cost. Then getting down to finding number of orders per year is equal to D, which is annual demand divided by the days of the year. So it's annual demand divided by the annual demand divided by EOQ. So this is our EOQ. Okay. So EOQ is the same as Q. Then we are getting down to the other one. The other one is cycle time. So cycle time is the time taken between orders and calculated by cycle time is equal to Q over T multiplied by the days of the year. Then the Q is the EOQ, D is our annual demand. So cycle time taken between orders. Okay, and the formula given by that. The days of the year will be given in the question. If they are not given in the question, take the days to be 365 days. So usually they will give you the days. The days sometimes will be given as 250 days. Sometimes if the days are not given, you just take that they are working every day. So you take the days to be 365. All right, then this is just about the cycle time. Then we go to the order point. So this is the point at which the firm should order units of the commodity. Again, you don't have to wait for the mini meal to finish completely that you need to order another bag of mini meal. So if you ordered and you have this is what you have, so your order point will be at this level because you're almost running out of stock. So this is our order point. So it's a point at which the firm should order units of commodity again. So the order point is equal to expected demand during lead time plus the safety stock. So expected demand during lead time plus the safety stock. So the EDDLT simply means expected demand during lead time. And of course, what is lead time? Lead time is the time taken between when an order is placed and when an order is actually what? Received. Okay, then expected demand during lead time is equal to daily demand, then multiplied by lead time. So expected demand during lead time is equal to daily demand multiplied by lead time. Our daily demand, a small d, is equal to annual demand divided by the days of the year. Annual demand divided by the days of the year, that is the daily demand. Our safety stock is simply the buffer stock kept for security reasons to cushion on demand units. That's a safety stock. That is, you have to have a safety stock that when you harvest the crops, you should have a certain number of bags that you need to keep as safety stock in case of hard times, that you can use that safety stock to meet the demand. So you don't completely have to finish whatever you have harvested. So our safety stock is equal to Z value multiplied by the standard deviation of demand multiplied by the square root of lead time. So this is the safety stock, the Z value. These ones are given. If the Z value is not given, you use the Z of 1.65, the standardized Z, so use 1.65 if the Z value is not given. So we have the Z of 1.65. When the Z is not given, you're assuming that we are getting a 90% service level, or this one is the standardized one, the Z value that you should use when it's not given in the question. So if the safety stock is not there, then the order point should be according to the standard deviation of demand. Okay. So this is what goes on. Getting down to the order point. All right. So from here, we can now see that we have this formula here. So our order point without safety stock will be only if the safety stock is not there. If the safety stock is not there, then our reorder point will only be equal to the expected demand during lead time. That will be our reorder point. So expected demand during lead time is equal to daily demand multiplied by the lead time. Now, when you're doing the stock taking, you look at how many units. The total stocking cost simply means made up of annual carrying cost and annual ordering cost. When you're doing the stock taking, you look at how many units that you have brought in from yesterday night or from yesterday up to how much you've ordered. So this is annual carrying cost, this whole thing here. And this Q is our EOQ, the one we have calculated using the formula. Even this one is our economic order quantity. Okay, so
excuse me, sorry.
This is what happens. Yes.
I wanted to ask, what's the difference between the carrying cost and the ordering cost?
The carrying cost, the difference between carrying cost is that as you look at the carrying, so carrying cost simply means the cost that is involved in carrying cost. You are putting the inventory in the warehouse. So if you are keeping your tomatoes in the warehouse, you will pay for insurance of those tomatoes. Okay, so then what else? You pay for the other cost that you're paying is the cost of spoilage. That inventory can be spoiled, so spoilage. Then what else? You are paying for the warehousing, salaries and wages. So the people who are managing the stock, you have put your stock in the warehouse. You should pay for the salaries for those people who are keeping the stock, looking after those stocks, those boxes of tomatoes. All right, so these are few examples. Even for the floor space charge, the bag, okay, those are carrying costs. They are also called holding costs. All right. Okay, are we together?
Yes.
So carrying cost is the same as holding cost. So floor space charge, these are examples of carrying cost. Now, what about the ordering cost? When you're ordering, you need to pay for transport. Okay, go and order those boxes from your suppliers to your warehouse, from your suppliers to your home. So under ordering, so these are just the important terms. So this is denoted by C as carrying costs in or H. Okay. So we have ordering cost. So what are those? Transport charge. Okay. So transport, what else? You can also talk about the research and development for what you are ordering. So when you're doing a research for the car you're ordering, you are researching, it is a part of ordering cost. Okay, so R and D. So research and development. What else? Delivery charges for what you have ordered. It's the same as part of the transport, so delivery cost. Okay. And then we also look at anything to look at the ordering cost per order. So regardless of whatever you're ordering, they will charge you a 500 kwacha for ordering cost. Okay, so anything else to do with that is ordering cost. Have I answered your question?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is about what goes on. So now, here, this is when you're doing the stock taking. total stocking cost, you look at what the cost of those carrying and ordering. So whatever you've bought today plus what was there before you ordered some more goods, this is the total stocking cost. Then total material cost, it has the build-up of annual carrying cost, then annual ordering cost, then the unit price, which is unit price multiplied by demand. Unit price is the same as acquisition cost per unit. So unit price is the same as AC. So the total material cost is made up of annual carrying cost, the annual ordering cost, and the acquisition cost multiplied by annual demand. So this marks the end of the first model for inventory management as we are looking at the purchasing model. All these formulas, they fall under purchasing model. And these same formulas for purchasing model are the ones that we use for discount model. These ones, they use the same formulas because you can only be given discount when you are buying. All right, so you can only use the you can only give you a discount when you're buying. So that is it on the aspect of inventory purchasing model and model 3. So now getting down to this assignment question, we have this question here where they're saying that you are a supply chain analyst in the retail company. The company sells a popular product and needs to optimize its inventory management to minimize the cost. So the objective of EOQ is to minimize the sum of carrying. So the objective of this is to minimize carrying cost. So minimize the carrying cost, and as well as what? And as well as ordering cost. So this is the objective of the EOQ. So we have the setup cost here, which is our S. The annual holding cost, which is AH, is $8. The annual demand is 10,000. So from here, we can find the EOQ. As we answer the first part of this, which was on inventory. So other things were not there. There was aspect of safety stock, the order point, and of course, we now get down to when EOQ is wrong, it may affect almost every other questions coming. So the most important thing is to get the economic order quantity correct, because it will affect other things coming down, the other questions. So because from here, the EOQ, if it's wrong, it's a Q. So if this is wrong, we are going to use the wrong EOQ here in finding the number of orders. Finding Q here, if it is wrong for the same as EOQ, it will be also be affected. And then also getting down to the other one will also be affected. The safety stock may also be affected, and the total stocking cost may also be affected, and the total material cost may be affected because of the Q, which is the EOQ. So now from here, what we're simply saying is that we can now get down to the solution here, where we are simply saying that we have this information. So for this information now, we can see to read that we have this, we can substitute here. We have gotten EOQ 500 units when using a calculator. That's the first one, which is the Q from this one, based on what has been given. So this one. And then after finding this, the service level was not given. From here, substituting this, we are gotten, this is our Q, the EOQ. I mentioned that if the service level is not given, then you use the 95% service level, meaning that this is what we use. So meaning that our Z value will be equal to 1.65. That is on our Z value. So the self-stock is equal to Z value. So assume this is the 95%, 95 or 90% still the same. We use 1.65 approximately. So self-stock is Z value multiplied by standard deviation of demand multiplied by square root of lead time. This one simply means the standard deviation of demand. Okay, so this one is a standard deviation. So we substituting that, we are getting our self-stock of from that is 2608.87. This is just because the examiner had given us a very large standard deviation of 500. That is from the question. This one from the question was a 500. Right. So this is the reason why, because you have a 500 unit standard deviation of demand. So, and then the lead time was 10 days. So as we are getting down to this solution, we can now see to it that the self-stock is 2608.87 units. Okay. And then from here, we are going to have the order point, which is expected demand during lead time plus self-stock. The self-stock is already calculated. Expected demand during lead time because the daily demand multiplied by lead time. How would we get our daily demand? Annual demand divided by the days of the year, which is 27 point. So the days of the year are not given. That's why we use the 365 days, the total days of the year. So after that is, we got 27.39 units. So our order point is equal to expected demand during lead time is equal to daily demand multiplied by lead time, which is 10 days from the question, 10 days there. And this one is just coming out from the notes, okay, on these expected demand during lead time, which is daily demand multiplied by lead time from here. So this is why we are getting down to the solution here, where we are simply now getting our order point is 2882.77 units. So this is our reorder point. All right. So these figures may look a little bit huge, and the economic order quantity. This is because of the information that the examiner provided. Okay, from there, so we have the reorder point of 2882.77 units because of the figures that the examiner had given out, 500 and all that. So we have gotten the self-stock there. The reorder point is 2882.77 units. And then other questions we are not asked, we didn't ask about the total stocking cost. If that was asked about the total stocking cost, would have actually used the formula for this one for the total stocking, which it didn't ask about. We have substituted the D as annual demand, the EOQ from where we would have gotten it, would have gotten the total stocking cost if he asked about it. Now, he did not ask about it, so there was no need. The other question that the examiner asked here was on the analyze the EOQ and the reorder point results, discuss how the company can use these values to improve the inventory management and cost efficiency. So here, what we are simply saying is that on our economic order quantity, also known as financial purchase quantity or economic buying quantity, is the order quantity that minimizes the total holding cost and ordering cost. That's the objective of the economic order quantity, is to minimize the holding cost, which is the carrying cost, and ordering cost. That is the goal of the economic order quantity. All right, so even from the word go here, we said that the objective of the economic order quantity is to minimize the holding cost and ordering cost. The overall goal of economic order quantity is to decrease spending. Its formula is used to identify the greatest number of units needed in order to reduce buying. The economic order model does not consider that a business can receive discounts, for example, in ordering large quantities. The economic order quantity and a order point model, so the EOQ and the order point model have been used for many years, but yet some companies have not taken advantage of it. An economic order quantity could assist in deciding what would be the best optimal order quantity, all right, at the company lowest price. All right, then similar to EOQ, the order point to advise when to place an order for the specific products based on the historical demand. So this is about the significance of these two, the economic order quantity and the order. The order point also allows sufficient stock at hand to satisfy demand while the next order arrives due to lead time. So this is about question 1 of this problem, which was on inventory management. All right, because we're supposed to go through this review of this assignment. That's why I'll be forced now to also explain the other. Of course, we'll go bit by bit so that in another classes coming, we should be able to take to go in detail, to go an extra amount in detail, so that we talk about all the other models, like the model 1 in full. Then also we talk about model 1, model 2, and model 3, so that we can finish this topic in detail, can go in depth. Okay, but this is just for the sake of this assignment review that we are looking at. Then the other one we can talk about is aggregate planning, which was question 2, because this paper, this assignment, it had two topics. There was the first one was inventory, and the goal of EOQ that I've been explaining, that is to minimize spending, the aspect of carrying cost and ordering cost. The H here, and the ordering cost is denoted by S. The carrying cost is denoted by H or C. Then we can quickly run through question 2 of this problem, which was on aggregate planning. Aggregate planning is a planning that involves the two strategies. Okay, there is a chest. So aggregate, we are simply saying that aggregate, we have the two strategies, the chest strategy. Okay, chest strategy. Under this one is also called matching demand. So chest strategy for matching demand. Okay, so this is the what? So you produce to meet demand. So under this one, you produce as per demand. Of course, we'll go into details of each of these topics that we are looking at. So this is produce as per demand. Then the other strategy is pure level strategy. Okay, so pure level production. So these are the two strategies that we look at concerning aggregate planning. So now in chase strategy, you hire and fire workers. You don't want to maintain workforce. So chase strategy, this one, what does it mean? So this one is the same matching demand. So you hire and fire workers. You don't want to maintain your worker. You just tell your maid to say, I'll call you, or be calling you whenever I need you. To hire and fire workers. So what do? We have hiring cost and layoff costs. Okay. So we have hire and fire workers and production cost. Okay. This is production cost. What for production cost? The cost involved in producing those units. So after you have hired workers, you need them to produce. So what's the cost of production? So these are the costs that are involved in this strategy. So we may have the hiring cost. Okay. Then what else? We have the firing cost. So the hiring cost is there. Then what else? We have the firing cost should be there. And regular production cost. So regular cost, which should be there. So after this is done, you can have what we call the total cost of this plan. And then this strategy is done. All right. Then under pure level strategy. Okay, what are we having? Here we have no hiring and firing. We want to maintain workers. Like what happens if you work for the government, you know that whether you like it or not, you get. It's good for planning. An individual will plan. So you can have, so the costs that are involved here is maybe overtime cost. If those workers who are constant, they cannot produce to meet demand, you may have overtime cost. You may have also what we call subcontracting. You may subcontract, so the contracting. And then what else? You may have also the production cost. Of course, you can have also the holding cost in an event when all those they have produced enough, more than demand. So what happens? You can keep the whatever excess they have produced in the warehouse. You can have then the other one is the regular cost. Okay, so this is regular cost. Of course, we may also have the stock out cost, the cost of losing business when you know that those level constant workers cannot produce to meet demand. You just tell the customers that go and look elsewhere. So the cost of losing business. So all these, the costs that you find as we look at the pure level what? Strategy. All right, so this is about, these are the costs that we expect. Of course, level production under this one. Of course, as I mentioned, we'll go in details for the other classes coming. so that we just start now, okay, we will do this on its own so that we can be exhausting topics as we go in detail. So summation of demand, okay, then minus beginning stock over the number of periods. So that's our level production. All right, so now getting down to question 2 that we need to do here says you are a production planner or manager at a manufacturing company that produces electronic devices. The company is experiencing fluctuations in demand and wants to develop the aggregate production plan to meet the customer needs. So meaning to meet the customer needs, meaning to meet demand. So we just want to produce to meet the demand of customers. So what are we going to do here? So we need first and foremost to understand that here we have the January, February, March, and December, meaning that other months they could not have they are not working. So hiring cost and firing cost, you know that this is a chess strategy. Like I mentioned, chess, when you are losing chess, you don't want to fire, you don't want to maintain workforce. When you have those strategies, we don't want to maintain workforce. So that's the term chess. So keep on hiring and firing. When it's a peak time that you need some workers, you can hire as many as possible. So meaning that if the demand, for the demand to be increasing here, it's an eye opener. It's an indicator that we needed more workforce because the demand is high. So you don't expect to lay off because for the demand of January was 800 units, meaning that the workforce could be less than that of February, 900, meaning we needed some more people in February. We needed some more people in March because of the demand, some more people in December because of the demand. This is an eye-opener and hint that you need to know because of the increase in demand that you need more workforce for the other months. All right, so this is about what this question was all about. All right, so it's because from the demand that we can tell that we needed more people in those other months. So in here you can see we have the demand of 800, the demand of 900, the demand of 1,000, the demand of 1,200. Beginning stock, we are told that it was 0 from this one. Beginning inventory, they didn't mention about it. But the starting workforce was 50 workers. So we need to know what was happening in the number of workers. So meaning that, as we can see, we have these ones. So beginning stock 0, then what production you produce to meet demand. So producing to meet the demand here. So meaning on a regular basis, how many units, because the starting workforce was 50, meaning that in January we had 50 workers. We had 50 workers in January. Now we need to find out production units per worker was 16. All right, so it should be 16 units per week. Why? Because we had 50 workers for them to produce 800, meaning one worker was producing how many units? 16 units. So we can define the 16 units by the number of units that were produced in these other months. So here we had 56 workers in February. We had 63 workers in March. We had 75 workers in December. So how many workers were hired in January? We didn't hire any worker in January because of the fact that that was a starting workforce. We started with the how many workers? We started with 50 workers. So meaning that this is why we are simply now saying that the number of workers were 50 in January. Then the number of workers were 56 in there were 56 workers in February. March were 63 and 75 workers were in December. Excuse me. So meaning that here we have workers hired. We hired 6 workers because of variation workforce. 6 workers in February. We hired 7 workers. The difference here in March. Then here between March and December, we didn't work during any other month. From March, we only worked in December when we needed 75. So we had 12 more workers. So the hiring cost per worker was how much? We can check here. The hiring cost per worker was actually the 2,000. Then firing was 3,000. Here we didn't fire any worker. The reason why we didn't fire any worker is because of the fact that there was an increase in the demand units. So we needed more work. We needed more workforce. We needed more workers here. That's why here we can see that we didn't fire any worker unless if the demand units, there was a decrease in the number of units demanded among these months. All right, so meaning that the hiring cost multiplying by 2,000, so the total hiring cost was $50,000. We didn't lay off any worker, so the layoff was 0. And then the production cost among the costs that I mentioned here on the chase strategy, that we have only hiring, firing, and regular, meaning that we did not lay off any worker here. And then regular production was you produce as per demand, and to produce a unit, we needed how much? The production cost per unit was $50. So this is why we are trying to factor in this one. So meaning that our regular production, we were multiplying by $50 according to the units that we're producing. And then, of course, what we are simply saying here, we have $195,000. And the total cost of this plan is $245,000. Getting down to the other question from here, it was saying that, would that mean the average demand and the standard deviation? So the formulas here, the average demand and the standard deviation, the average demand was 975 units. So this was an average demand. All right, then the standard deviation of demand using this formula, we are squaring these values at a time. This one is square, this one is square, this one is square, this one is square. Substituting in this equation, the standard deviation of demand was 170.7825 units. Okay, this is using that formula there, because these were just sample months. That's why we're subtracting -1. So we're getting the standard deviation using this formula here, squaring each of these one, substituting in this equation, we got 170.72. Then getting down to the other one where it says, tell me the required production for each month. Tell me the required production for each month using the chase demand. So the production here, it's already sorted out. The demand required production is these ones were required productions. Here was for part B. Required production units were these ones. Using the chase, we are producing to meet demand. So these are the production units required. Then getting down to the other one where they said we are supposed to look at the calculated hiring and firing decisions. Then the total cost of the plan. There was no holding cost for inventory because whatever we produced was demanded. And then we are simply saying that the hiring, we had 6 workers in February, hiring decision, no firing, 7 workers in March. This is coming from the ones that we have here. These are decisions of hiring. And then we are going to have the total cost of hiring. Okay, so you have these ones, these are decisions of hiring. The total cost of the strategy was $245,000. Then hiring cost was 50, production cost of this total cost came to $245,000. This is about what we are simply saying. And then the pros and cons of the chase strategy. these are the ones here. So the pros and cons of this strategy, we are simply looking at a strategy is an approach on aggregate planning that attempts to match the supply and output with fluctuating demand. The strategy tries to match the demand and capacity of a service from period to period. Now, the advantage of applying the chess strategy is that this strategy permits organizations to use the lowest number of service providers, potentially saving the organization considerable amount of money. So you're trying to make sure that you produce as per demand, and you are also trying by all means to minimize on expenditure. So you fire as many workers as possible, or you hire as many workers as possible if you want to meet the demand. So the disadvantage of the chess strategy approach is that it can incur cost by ineffective use of capacity at periods of low demand, and the need to recruit or lay off by the learning curve effects, and by possible loss of quality. So this is just about the pros and cons of a chess strategy. Advantage is that you produce to meet demand, but of course, this strategy can incur cost by ineffective use of capacity at periods of low demand. Okay, periods of low demand, and you have the ineffective use of capacity at periods of low demand. And of course, you need to recruit or lay off workers by learning curve effects. So this is just about what this assignment paper was all about. So you just need to go through and understand, and especially that we need to know that this one came on aggregate planning, and these are the topics that are covered in form. So we need to have time that we have take you slowly in each of these topics so that we can go in detail as we are looking at the inventory, aggregate, master production schedule, all these other topics coming down. So this is where this class ends tonight, unless there are questions so far. If there are no questions, we can end the class for now. Please make sure you go through whatever I've explained this evening, and we'll be assured that we'll go in detail of each of these topics that I've listed, from the inventory to the shop floor planning. All right, so we can end the class for now. Are there any questions so far? So have a blessed evening. We end the class for now.
Thank you.